Hey guys, how you doing? I'm Kent Tilley with K4 Financial, and today I want to talk to you about 7 things to do before you enter into retirement. And this is actually really bad timing because just over the last couple of weeks, our friend Adam at Parallel has done 2 videos that are like 7 things to do in this retirement. They're not going to be identical. It's just that Adam is always one step ahead of me. And that's great, but hopefully you get some value out of this one. We love Adam at Parallel. He's awesome and he's doing the right things. And so obviously, and I'm actually going to touch on one that I learned from him that I didn't really think about. So one of the steps is going to be one I learned from Adam in a sec. So the first main thing I really want you to do before you retire, and number one, is creating a budget. And you need to know roughly how much money you need to spend in retirement and how much money you want to spend in retirement. And I know there's talk about, go, slow go, no go, whatever those types of things. We can't know what your, slow go and no go are going to be. We're going to assume they're going to drop, but I like to go in a straight line and say like, okay, well, unless we need to tell you that you have to do it that way, hopefully in a perfect world, we can stay consistent and say, I think that means you can spend more in the early years. So once you've got that budget and sort of your idea for say the next 5 years, this is what I want to spend, now it's time to get a financial plan. So you need to see if this is sustainable. At that time, that's very important. And then how do you need to invest to make sure that's sustainable? When do you need to draw down certain assets or take CPP and OAS to make sure that's sustainable? In some cases, if you have a lot of money, it's going to be sustainable no matter what happens. But if you're on the lower end of the spectrum, the timing of all of these things is very, very important. And that's why you need a plan based on that budget. It's also a reason why I don't love fee-for-service stuff because, you enter into retirement, it usually takes 2 or 3 years for you to become comfortable with the idea that this plan is working. And that's why you need to, continually review and adjust these things and make decisions based on how it actually looks. So regardless of what you want to do, get an actual plan. Go and talk to your banker about it and be like, can I get a retirement plan? And they'll be like, no, we don't do that here. But, look at your returns the last 5 years. That's neat. And then they can talk to you about that. So that's neat. I want you to set aside an emergency fund. I always want to see some cash available, whatever that is. It's got to be liquid. It can be in a high interest savings account, whatever. And sometimes one of the things that I think people should do before they quit working, especially if they're sort of borderline going to be able to retire, or there might be some big expenses early on, but then savings later on for whatever reason, go while you still have an income. And if you're mortgage free, you own your home, get a HELOC and just lock in that debt that you can potentially access and pay off later, because once you're not working, you're not going to be able to qualify for any sorts of loans, with the exception of like a reverse mortgage, which I would rather you have a HELOC and do that and hopefully pay that down later than have to get into a reverse mortgage type of situation. So that can be part of your emergency fund. Big expenses coming up, you have access to some debt so you don't need to liquidate too much RSP or something. I think it's a good idea in certain cases. Always, develop that estate plan if you haven't already. So you're going to get a will, a personal directive, and powers of attorney set up. You can do these through, online through like Willful, or go and talk to an actual estate lawyer to get one set up, depending on the complexity of your situation. Make sure the beneficiaries are proper, on your RSPs and TFSAs and other things. and have a talk with a professional about the implications of, say, I want this kid to have this and this kid to have this, and keeping it outside of the will to try and save probate a lot of times can actually really complicate the situation and make it completely unfair to your beneficiaries. At that point in time, if you have extra money, you've done the plan, you can start talking about pre-gifting or charitable donations or whatever, pre-gifting to your kids, and strategies to do that. Might also include some form of potential permanent insurance policy that takes away like a potential huge tax bill on a cottage that's going to have a giant capital gain or something that might cause some sort of strife within the estate with the beneficiaries. So a lot of things to talk about in that case, depending on your situation. Sometimes it's very easy. Another thing to think about is partial retirement. I think this is a good idea for a lot of people because the emotional part of entering retirement and not feeling like you have a purpose anymore, in a lot of cases that happens, not feeling like you have anything. A lot of times you hear about people that enter retirement and their health deteriorates because their mind just isn't working and they're not as active anymore. So maybe entering into partial retirement and saying, how am I liking these days off? Do I want to continue working? Just because society tells you that you need to quit working at 65, I know a ton of people that really enjoy their jobs that are like, I don't want to. But if you're completely burnt out and like, screw this, do it. But maybe one day you want to go back and work at a craft store or something like that and just earn $1,000 a month because you enjoy it. Because life and retirement should be enjoyable. So you're really going to want to get through the emotional aspect of how that's going to feel. And I think, trying a partial retirement or taking 6 months off when you're 60 to see how it feels and how much you're spending and stuff is a really good idea. This is the one that I got from Adam, which also brings me to kind of another point. You have a bunch of work stuff, and one of the things that you might have at work that you might not think about is your work email or cell phone or whatever, and you're no longer going to have that once you retire. So you're going to want to transition all of these things to a personal thing, let people know, like, whatever it is, you're going to want to clean that up so nothing has to do with work anymore. And this is also when you're going to want to come and talk to an actual planner instead of somebody that's just randomly assigned to your file, is you probably have a bunch of work accounts, or one work account, a group RSP, a defined contribution pension plan, a pension plan, whatever. This is why you want the plan to talk about how you're going to invest that money afterwards, because I love group RSPs, and one of the best ones and one of the biggest ones is Sun Life. Now, you cannot argue against Sun Life when you have that group plan, when you're part of the employment process and they're adding to it. The fees are super low, the funds are really good, but as soon as that rolls over into your personal name, now you're assigned to a personal advisor at Sun Life, and your fees are going to increase, and you're not going to know if you're getting good financial and retirement advice at all. So why not choose before that happens and say, okay, let's check out Adam, or let's check out K4, or let's check out this other person in the area, or whatever. Just knowing what you know now about how you can save money on fees, to look for those things, to ask those questions, to make sure that you are in a relationship with an advisor that you trust, like, and you believe has your best interest at heart, because they're transparent with all of their answers to you. It's very important. And then lastly, with retirement comes obviously older age. You no longer have benefits. You're going to want to look into the cost of personal benefits. Can you keep your employment benefits going and pay for them? How much is medical going to cost if you don't have these benefits? These are big questions to have. Certainly we have some information on this. We're not full-blown experts in this area, but we definitely have some things to think about We can run quotes on personal lines, but I find generally there are less expensive ways to do it, to go and find your own personal insurance outside of dealing with us in that regard. But it is something to seriously consider, among many other things. But it's a huge life transition. It's hard for a lot of people. It's really great for a lot of people that, you know, are in a comfortable financial situation and are just done working. The smile on their face when they know they're okay is the best. The tears that we see when people don't think they could do it, and then we get to tell them that they can, and all their hard work paid off, is the greatest part of this job, by far. And congrats on your upcoming retirement, because I don't know why you'd be watching this if you're like 30 years old, but I know sometimes people do. So congrats on your upcoming retirement in like 30 years, if that's you. And we'd love to hear from you. We'd love to see you like and subscribe or comment on the video. And thanks again for watching. Cheers.